it seems a little narcissistic of me, but it is a part two, I guess, of my video where I talk about that judge guy beating his child. I still say, even though it's wrong, it's not my highest priority. Many kids get beaten with a belt, and no one seems to care. But just because they see it on YouTube and they actually see how gratuitous it is, all of a sudden now it triggers emotional responses. But my point is that you see that it's wrong to initiate force against somebody, and I've been over how moderators are far, far worse and you don't care. But more importantly, if you notice in the comments section, they are saying some pretty brutal things about what should happen to him. He should burn in a bonfire, he should be shot, and crap like that. Why? How do you justify that over, what he did? I mean, I know he's a bad guy, but you gotta be the bigger person. What do we want in a society? It's pretty sad that even when people are trying to be righteous, they aren't. It's depressing. I don't want the guy to, be burned in a bonfire or be shot, and it's probably not a good idea to be saying that about a judge anyway. But what I do want is for him to realize the evils he's committed and learn from it. Is that possible? I don't know. The zombification process is so deeply ingrained that it's very unlikely. And considering the fact he's a judge, he's probably more so than anybody not going to change, because he's an egomaniacal, petty redneck that is stuck in his ways. He figures, I'm a judge, if I'm a judge, I'm right and everybody else is wrong. I judge them, they don't judge me. Or something to that effect, People use their stature as some kind of excuse for what they do. He's no better than anybody else. He goes to work like everybody else. He takes shit like everybody else. He's had his heartbreaks, and he's done bad things like everybody else. But, because of his high position, he thinks he's of some more morally upstanding nature. And he's not. If anything, he's of less, because he probably became a judge because he knew the right people, and he did less than hospital things to get into that position. But I do not condone death threats, and I certainly would not want anyone to act on it, nor do I think under a legal system should he be put to death or anything of the sort. I wouldn't want to be cruel to the man just because he was cruel to somebody else. I know I might be saying that probably because it didn't happen to me personally. If he had been beating me, I'd probably be saying something different. But because I'm a third person, I can have a sense of justice and a sense of looking at this objectively. He should certainly be stripped of his position as judge. I think that's enough punishment. To be discredited from your position, to lose that entitlement, to be disgraced, and to know what it feels like to be of such high stature and have it taken from you. That is horrible in and of itself. He will never be able to live his life again the same way. Even if he isn't taken from his position as judge, for the rest of his life, he will not be remembered as a judge, but as the guy that was on camera for beating his kid. That sucks. You work hard in life to get somewhere special, and he won't be remembered for being a good judge or a bad judge, just some guy beating his kid. So what did he bother doing all that shit for? What did he bother to go into law school for and becoming a lawyer to hopefully become a judge and maybe a politician someday as a judge, So I don't feel particularly malevolent toward this guy, even though what he did was obviously wrong. But that's because I'm a good person, and I can look at this the way a good person should. So, I don't know what else to say here. You guys are being totally hypocritical and foolish about this. You shouldn't be, threatening this guy or saying he should die. He shouldn't die. He should just be disgraced. He should be humiliated. He should be shunned. And that is a punishment in and of itself. Honor is a very important thing. We don't give it nearly enough credit. But when somebody really has to look in the mirror and realize that they are a piece of shit, it is very self-destructive. He will probably hurt himself afterward, and it'll drive him to drink or something of the sort. And I don't want it to. I don't want him to feel that much pain, but it is a natural response for when, the truth comes out. And, that's what we need to learn. We don't need this. We don't need to go to wars and slaughter innocent people. We don't need to beat our children with belts. And we certainly don't need to censor people on the internet or take from them, the rights to play the game that they paid for. We don't need to use force against one another. What we need is to encourage inventing and, discovery, exploration. We don't need to promote obedience, submission, and ignorance. And it all sounds very hippie-ish and new agey, but it's true. There's just not enough intelligence and compassion in the world. And I don't mean compassion like you hold the door for people and you're losing weight, you're so brave, I love you. That's not compassion. That's being a tool. Compassion is respecting other people's rights. Compassion is seeing someone as a human being, not as someone to be punished or disciplined. They are not cattle. They are not a pet. They are a human being. They have feelings. They have ambitions. They have dreams. And they remember shit for the rest of their life. It haunts them. And you need to think about that shit. You need to be more considerate of other people's feelings. That's how you be compassionate. But that certainly doesn't mean you have to be nice to people, and that it doesn't mean you never have to use violence. I don't believe in pacifism. I believe in the non-force principle. I believe in the path of least resistance. That is a scientific principle, and it is a moral principle. I don't have to go and raise my fists at everybody who gets on my bad side, but that certainly doesn't mean I'm going to just lay there and take it like a bitch, which is what the wife suggested. So that's what I'm trying to get across here. You are self-contradicting yourself and hurting yourself by suggesting pain and death be inflicted upon this man. He is, whether he believes it or not, a victim of this self-fulfilling prophecy of evil. He is just as much a pawn as you are. He just happens to be a pawn of higher stature and authority, which is a very scary thought. But, you raised this guy. You think about what you say, and it helped create this man. He is your monster. You deal with him. That's all I gotta say.